Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope that all of you are doing fine and staying safe. Today's topic is going to be internet. I'm sure that most of the things as an introduction, what I'm going to tell you through this lecture, most of these things are already known to you, as you people have been the users of internet since your early childhood. So you are familiar with the technology from the very start. Let's try and understand some of the meanings of the terminologies and then the hierarchy, the structure of how internet works. Internet actually stands for interconnected networks, and internet includes thousands of, millions of computers, individual computers and networks connected through telephone cables and fiber optics and satellites throughout the globe. On the internet, there is the transfer and flow of communication. Mostly, it generally is known as the information highway. On the internet, you can share your ideas, your content, your audio, video, pictures. Now there are social media platforms for each of that as well. But at this point, I should mention that internet is actually the physical network and the cyberspace that you explore through your web browser is the World Wide Web. There are a few characteristics to internet. First of which is that nobody owns internet. Although there are backbone ISPs, the companies which are uh, having direct access to the internet or which are having the global access of the internet, but there is no single entity, government or individual that owns the internet. Originally, it was developed by the US Department of Defense, but then it was open to the private industry in the 80s and individuals, and in the 90s, individuals started to join the internet and it started to take the shape that we see it. Internet uses TCP/IP as the standard of communication. Transmission control protocol slash internet protocol. Whenever I'm using the word protocol, you should understand that I'm talking about a set of rules to accomplish a particular task. That's actually a protocol. TCP/IP is a communication protocol which enables the computers on the internet to talk to each other. There are several applications or several uses of the internet. A few of them are listed here. But now internet has such a vast applications that one can do almost everything on the internet. In terms of entertainment, you have online gaming, you have multiplayer gaming environment, you can even earn the gaming currencies and then sell them and convert them into actual physical real world currency. You can actually communicate. Sending the email message was first form of communication over the internet. Now it has evolved into the video conferencing and the cloud meetings, which one of which we are using right now to communicate with each other. And also you have your text messaging, your audio and video calling. Next one was the file sharing, the file transfer. You have now a lot of ways of sending and receiving the files through your messenger applications, using the BitTorrent softwares, using the FTP server, the file transfer protocol servers. Then there was discussion group and mailing lists and news groups. Now that has evolved into news feeds of news media giants, and chat rooms have evolved into your social media walls. And you can also have your mailing list have been evolved into RSS feeds, the rich site summary feeds. You get notification as soon as your favorite websites are uploading any new content. And then of course surfing the web. All these are uses of internet, and there is a lot more to it. There is e-commerce. You can go online for buying and selling things. You can do all your banking stuff using internet as well. Then what's actually the web? As I was mentioning earlier, the internet itself is the physical network. The web is the information present on that physical network. That information is organized into websites. Those websites are made up of web pages. And to explore those websites, we need a web client, a web browser. The web pages are written in HTML, and your web browser is capable of reading the HTML and displaying the information as directed by those HTML tags. Your websites can contain the hyperlinks, the keywords, the images, the videos, the animations, other graphics, and links to other pages which are called hyperlinks. Now we have interactive web pages as well, which can be updated in the real time dynamically. And the collection of all those web pages is a website, and the starting page of a website is called a home page. So web is actually the information which is present on the physical network called the internet. To access the internet, one must first have the internet connection from an internet service provider. Many institutions are actually actively using internet for their educational purposes, like so we are doing currently as well. The approach in the institutions is, or schools or offices, or even in the home network, we make a small network of our own, the local area network, and then we connect that network to the internet using some internet service providers subscription. The ISP actually is responsible for providing the internet service. Usually the ISPs actually charge a small fee, and that allows us to access the internet. Now that we are talking about the ISPs, we need to understand the hierarchy of the internet. But we will get to that in a minute. Once you are connected to that physical network, to connect to the internet, first in the previous times we used a dial-up connection. Now the dial-up has been replaced by the DSL connections, and we are online all the time. In the dial-up days, we needed to make a telephone call using a device called a modem, which was plugged into the computer, and that actually connected us to the computer of the ISP. To access the web, once you have the internet connection, to access the web, you need a browser which can browse through the websites and its web pages. The web browsers are specific programs able to read the information written in HTML and able to display that. Examples of those web browsers are Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. The internet is based on the client server architecture. The web servers are the computer on which your websites are hosted. Your websites are placed on those computers which are online 24/7, and your web browser acts as a web client. There are a lot of other things involved in that. For example, a DNS server is involved in locating the web server based on a name and connecting the web client to that web server. This model actually helps establish the hierarchy between the client and the servers. Now we need to understand the ISP hierarchy. The internet is actually accessed through the internet service provider, the ISPs. The ISPs are categorized into tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 ISPs. The tier 1 ISPs, also called the backbone ISPs, are the companies which are mainly having the infrastructure, the fiber optics, the satellites, which are actually shouldering the network of which we know as internet. The tier 1 ISPs are global ISPs. They have direct access to internet. They actually, you can say that this is where internet starts. They own the infrastructure that is hosting the internet. Everyone else who needs the internet access actually gets the internet access through tier 1 ISPs. AT&T, American Telecom is an example of a tier 1 ISPs. There are less than 20 tier 1 ISPs all around the world. You can look up that list with a simple Google search. These actually provide the internet connectivity to the rest of the world. They are connected with each other as well through something that is called Internet Exchange Point or IXPs. IXPs are the points where the data traffic of one internet service provider is going to the next internet service provider. There are large data centers which are handling this hundreds of gigabits communication per second from one ISP to the other ISP. Previously, they were called network access points or NAPs. Now they are called internet exchange points. After tier 1 ISP, there comes the companies which are tier 2 ISPs. Tier 2 ISPs are the companies which are regional ISPs. For example, our local ISP, PTCL in our country, is a tier 2 ISP because it is actually localized to a specific region of our own country only. It's not a global ISP. It's getting the internet service from some tier 1 ISP, but itself it is a regional ISP. So it's in the tier 2. The tier 2 ISP connects to tier 1 ISP to get the service of the internet. They buy the bandwidth from the tier 1 ISP and then sell that bandwidth to the customers. The tier 1 also provide the NAPs or IXPs for the tier 2 ISPs to exchange their information through the whole internet. Then comes the tier 3 ISPs or the local ISPs. Usually the individual users are connected to tier 3 ISPs and they are getting the internet service to tier 1 ISPs. When a computer is connected from a tier 3 ISP and it has to send a message to another tier 3 ISP, it has to follow the internet hierarchy in that order that we have just learned. The tier 3 ISP sends the message to the tier 2 ISP, then it travels to tier 1, and then it goes to the next tier 1 ISPs, to the tier 2 ISP of the receiver, and to the local ISP of the receiver of the message. Suppose that this computer right there in the upper left corner of the diagram needs to communicate with the lower right computer, and they are connected to their own local ISPs. Now what's going to happen is a communication channel is being formed between them, and that communication channel is actually taking the message from the local ISP to tier 3, then the respective tier 2, and then the respective tier 1 ISP, where the message will be passed through the internet exchange points, and then the next tier 1 ISP to which the receiver is connected receives the message, and then it passes to its own tier 2 ISP, and then it goes to local ISP and reaches the user. All that happens in a matter of minutes. Uh, uh, Sorry for that. All that happens in the matter of seconds. So internet is actually lightning fast. The fiber optics and the communication satellites, which we talked about in the transmission medium lectures, actually are being used to pass the message from one computer to the other. So that's actually the hierarchy of the internet. That's how the ISPs are actually built. The backbone ISPs are actually providing the internet service to the tier 2, and the tier 2 is actually selling that internet subscription to tier 3 or local ISPs, and users are actually getting the services from the tier 3 ISPs by paying them. And that simply is the hierarchy of the internet. Moving on to the question answer sessions. Now,